I've just built this basic little circuit here to control this motor.
Here's the building of that circuit. It's basically just two relays with like pins connected and the common pin coming out going to the motor, allowing you to decide which pin gets positive while the other rests at negative.
This will be the main shaking motor to try and sell the effect that this guy's getting electrocuted to death. So this will be the main motor, which will... I haven't quite decided exactly how things are going to be connected and how this is going to affect them. But the main thing is that I have got a bi-directional controller here via two 5-volt pins, allowing me to run it one way or the other way. So I've got the old, I call it the eyeball camera, purely because of the case that it used to be in. But I've got the old eyeball camera, which in a previous video you would have seen I had set up as a camera out the front of my front door.
Inside of that little opening, I was then able to lock it in place.
And there we go. And then I've changed it, sort of upgraded it. I put a weatherproof camera there, since this cannot get wet from water. So I thought it's about time I make a hidden camera, and I'm going to hide it in this box. Okay. Right in, well, I was thinking I could put it in the P hole, but I think the O hole will probably be a more suitable, appropriate place. So I'm going to cut out this little O here, and that's where I'm going to stick the lens out of, and hopefully I can make it look completely natural. Now this is a brand new game. Hasn't been played before. Now that I see the construction of the box, it's a little different than what I initially thought, because it slides down like that, which just makes it a whole lot more difficult. I was hoping that I could construct it in a way that would allow me to continue using this box to hold all of the game stuff in it, but at this point I'm starting to think this is going to be a single-use box.
Starting off by drilling out the hole where the lens will be sticking out of and cleaning up that hole a little bit. Then I'll pull apart the camera and get it ready for life in the box. I'm able to just stick the lens into the hole and it sits there quite well, but I back that up with a bit of hot glue to make sure that it's actually going to sit and stay in place.
And there we go. More or less, that's actually sitting pretty well. Now, I have run out of time, I need to go to work, but this is the basic idea. I just need to clean it up a little bit and find a way to mount the microphone. I might just put a little hole here and just hot glue the microphone into the corner. So the camera is more or less in place. We've got it up the right way and it's getting an okay shot. Now let's see if I could actually put this box back together and keep everything stored in it, because eventually I'd like to play this game. I don't think I've played it before.
Slowing it down to a simple time lapse. You've got the progress bar at the bottom there if you want to skip ahead. Otherwise, enjoy the music.
And there it is. All done. Little camera poking out the O-hole, but you can always just plop it down and play the game. Look at that. And it all fits in there. Just a slight modification. So I'm going to call that a success.
Then, to install it, I just needed to drill a hole in the back of the bookshelf for the network and power cable, connect it to the network and to power, and then position it appropriately, thus successfully building the little spy camera board game box. Mail time. Now, I'm currently off work sick, as you may be able to tell by the sound of my voice, but that does not stop mail time. Packages in a package. Security bits. USB-C to headphone jack. Funny little task, failed successfully, Windows pin. I don't know, I've collected a handful of them now, so I thought, why not add another one? Now, the real reason I wanted to do mail time right now is because of this. I purchased a new keyboard and mouse for my computer. You see, the problem with the old keyboard is that the 0 key doesn't work, and you'd be surprised how much you use the 0 key when it finally stops working. There's also another key that wasn't really working too well, but that wasn't really much of an issue. So let's get this one opened up. Here we go. The Razer Black Widow version 4. Now, I've got version 1. I got it when it first came out, ages ago. It was supposed to be my very first credit card payment, but I ended up just paying cash. So to go with getting that new keyboard, I also purchased a new mouse. The Ballistic V3 Hyperspeed by Razer. Much love for my old keyboard that I'd been typing and gaming with over the years, it is now time to take it out. The cable on it is kinda thick because it's got 2 USB cables in it, which makes it hard to move it around, which is why I gotta take this out right at the beginning so that we can unbox the new keyboard. Opening up the box, we've got the keyboard front and center with a nice wrap over it to protect it during shipping. In a small cardboard compartment above that is the detachable cable for this keyboard. Nicely, it is USB-C, so you do have other cable options. Below all of that is the wrist rest, which is magnetically attached to the front of the keyboard, giving the whole thing a sleek look. With the mouse, once it's out of the box, that's basically it. You've got all you need there with a supplied battery that you can just chuck in, pull out the wireless dongle, and you're ready to go. Plugging it in was also really quick and easy. Mail time. Oh, that's fantastic. It's a little USB cable tester. Packet in a packet. Oh, cool. Couple USB extenders. Since I've changed out my desk a little bit, I need a couple cables to go a couple different places.
This is a power-only USB cable. See, we've got two lights on. That's indicating we've got ground and we've got positive. A USB 3 extender. And look at that, we've got a few more lights on. We've got ground, we've got positive, we've got data positive, CC2, another V bus, another ground, and another V bus. There we go, a little plug end. Okay, so we've got this extra one up here, which seems that if I wiggle this around, it drops in and out, but there we go. It's given us the indication that this USB cable is working and able to transmit data on it, which is just great. Oh. This past week, I have been quite sick. So I haven't really had any time to work on the main project of this channel. In fact, I haven't really had any time to work on anything, and what I have done is a little bit of housework. Prior to me being sick, I was working a ton to get money to pay for the exorbitant power bills, the on-road user costs, and stuff like that. That sort of creeps up and jumps out at you all of a sudden when you think you've got a few dollars spare. So this week's video has been delayed quite a bit, which is, this fortnight's video has been delayed. I try to release bi-weekly, but it's not always guaranteed. But I do have some solace to that, in that it doesn't really matter. I don't have a large following base, nor are any of the videos I produce time sensitive. This is simply the Simply Vlogs series. If I had anything else serious, it would have its own title, and it would have its own dedicated time. When I do have a proper project, I usually put in a whole lot of effort and stuff into it, make sure it comes out at a certain time frame after the thing has happened, and Simple Vlogs is just meant to be simple. It's just simply a video documenting some of the projects and stuff that I have and am working on. I've got ideas that I've come up with for the future, especially more security cameras being put up. Oh, which is another thing I did spend a bit of time on. So in a previous Simple Vlog, I had talked about, or at least indicated, that I had a Google Coral and was using some sort of AI software to analyze footage and stuff from my cameras, but it was running on a Raspberry Pi. And the biggest issue with that is that I was stuck using the substream of each of the cameras, which is a low resolution and low frame rate. But the Google Coral died. I guess it was overworked. It felt old and it gave out. But that's not the biggest problem. That's not the end of it. Initially, I've moved back over to Google Gemini AI. I send a couple frames from the camera to that, and it gives me back a prompt in a format of my choosing. The problem with that is that, at best, I get an 8-second delay from the point in which the camera detected motion to the point in which Google has sent back the reply. And at most, I get a 3-minute delay before I even know if someone showed up to my house. And that's not including the delay which is put upon by Home Assistant itself. For some reason, sometimes I get up to a 15-minute delay before I get the latest notification from Home Assistant. Meaning, in total, I can get like a 20-minute to half an hour delay just from someone approaching the house when I'm out and about, which is really annoying. But that's... So the reason I brought that up is because I did have another computer I had on standby. It was running a Linux server, and I was testing out some software, running a web page, hosting a web page, and just testing out a whole lot of Linux-based software that doesn't play well with Windows. And I thought, hey, let's chuck Frigate on that. And so now I've added all my cameras to that. I'm able to process them all live in real time in the full resolution, but I can't do facial recognition or license plate recognition because it doesn't have a GPU in it. It is solely CPU bound for the 5 cameras that I have running on it. So maybe in the future, that will also be included in a Simple Vlog, the upgrade of that, where in reality, it's probably going to be that my current main server will get shut down and converted from Windows to Linux, and then I'll run all my Linux stuff on there, and my current Linux server will get shut down and move from Linux to Windows, so that I can run my Windows-based stuff on there, because unfortunately, not everything that runs on Windows will run on Linux, and vice versa. For example, whilst I can run Frigate in a Docker, it's best for it to have a direct connection to the GPU, and the best way to do that is with Linux. Yes, it is possible on Windows, but it also becomes quite fragile. And knowing my ADHD, I'll set it up and then never look back. Like so many other projects I have, I need to be able to set things up and not have to baby them. Which brings me to another problem with the main project. Along with losing a lot of energy that I had for it at the beginning, I've also found that I accidentally booked a business trip over Halloween. So from the 31st, I'll be leaving the house and I'll be back on the 1st of the following month for a work business trip that was organized with me 3 months ago that I didn't realize was on October the 31st. I just looked at the email and thought, yeah, I'm available for that time. And I was very close to canceling it, but through recommendation of my peers, I am going on this business trip because whilst it is a simple trip, it is great for networking, learning, and it's definitely worth it in some aspect. But that's enough of talking. I've done enough talking for now.
Great news! Okay, so I just got a call from my boss, and, well, I'm not able to go on that work trip during Halloween. You see, I'm needed somewhere else, and it's more important that I go do that stuff somewhere else on the following day. So I get to stay home for Halloween, which means I can be involved in Halloween, which is... I was sad I wasn't able to be involved in Halloween because then I wouldn't be able to spend time with my daughter, but now I get to, and I'm quite happy about that.
Now back to work on our execution. We're back to work working on this Halloween project. Now I'm flipping the chair over and attaching the big motor underneath, which initially my plan was for this motor with this little bit of an arm on it to actually shake the dummy sitting in the chair to make it look like he's been electrocuted. But unfortunately, due to probably completely predictable circumstances, this motor is not powerful enough to actually get it to move or wiggle around or even just slightly sit back a little bit.
I'm going to be honest, I saw big motor, I thought big power. Obviously, that's not quite right, and I'm going to have to use a servo for this forward and back movement, and I might just be sensible and mount the servo at the back here.
Cutting up a little metal bracket I had and finding a way to properly mount it to the servo, I then find a little section in his chest that I can cut out and attach the servo to. I then grab a piece of wood and spray paint it a similar brown off colour that the rest of the chair is, and while it dries, finish off working on the servo. Once dried, I cut the piece of wood and just fill in a little black spot, finish off a little bit of hot gluing, and then attach the piece of wood to the chair and the servo.
I turned the voltage up a little bit and tightened some settings, so
with that forward and back motion sorted, it's now to move on to the hands. Now I'm just drilling a hole through the handrest which will go down and meet the servo. But I do realise that I haven't added any padding yet. So I get some leftover parts of the black sheet that we cut up way at the beginning of this project and fold it up and staple it down in a way to make it look like it's armrest padding that is supposed to be there. With the armrest padding done and out of the way, I'm able to attach a little wire to the hands that will run down to the servos underneath, strapping those hands back in and attaching the servos, as well as doing a little bit of calibration while I'm at it.
And that's all for this video. I've got about 3 main projects lined up for once I've finished this project. But until then, we're going to be working on this project, and in the next video, we're going to be putting in the wires to control each of the servos. I'm still not 100% sure where I want the control box to be, but it's probably going to be by his bum.